I'll be upfront with you guys. The most dominant aspect I've encountered personally with my entrepreneurial journey is stress. Striking the right balance between your entrepreneurial passion and your personal life can seem like an ongoing battle time and time again. I know it. I see it constantly happen, to myself included. Running a business, any type of business, is an exhilarating journey from start, and hopefully there's no finish yet. But it's filled with highs and lows all around. Highs and lows, successes, failures, setbacks. It's really a path that demands a lot of your time and attention. Two things we were talking about last week, but in different areas of your life. It really demands a lot of focus and energy like no other. Think of your small business as your baby. It is a baby, and it is your baby if you are a small business owner. But what happens when that relentless pursuit begins to bleed into your personal life? It happens. Push comes to shove, that shit is gonna happen. What happens when the stress of running a business starts impacting your relationships? Today, we're going to take a deep dive into this topic, shedding light on the realities faced by many entrepreneurs, including myself. I'll explore reasons behind stress and how it can manifest in personal relationships, and most importantly, strategies for managing this delicate balance. So this discussion is, not meant to discourage any aspiring entrepreneurs listening. Instead, I really just want to aim to bring awareness to this often overlooked aspect of entrepreneurship, running a small business. I believe that by understanding these challenges, we all can better prepare ourselves and protect our personal relationships or those things that matter most to us while pursuing the entrepreneurial dream. Whether you're an entrepreneur feeling the pressure, a loved one trying to relate or understand, or simply an interested listener, we hope this episode offers some valuable insights and practical advice. What's up, everyone? This is Fit for Business with Jared Lane. If you're watching on YouTube for the first time, go ahead and do us a favor and tap that subscribe button. And if you are hearing us on Spotify or listening along on Spotify, tap that follow along button. Your support means the world to us. Welcome to episode 6. One of the most common stressors for business owners is financial pressures. This is a topic I spoke to you guys a couple of episodes back, one of our first couple of episodes. It can be relentless and unforgiving. In addition to that, entrepreneurs often grapple with high expectations imposed by oneself. I deal with this as well. Self-imposed pressure, we call it. So pressure that somebody or that individual is self-inflicting or self-imposing on themselves because they set these expectations. So pushing them always to constantly want more, achieve better for themselves. It is a real thing. The drive being the entrepreneurial drive, usually results in long hours, blurring the lines between work and personal life balance, which, as we all know, it's really not a coherent thing, and leading many to question the feasibility of really much vaunted work-life balance, right? Is that a thing? Let's bring this to life. Let's talk about some anecdote stories and kind of just get first look at these challenges, right? These just help everyone with their entrepreneurial path, right? I'll be upfront with you guys. The most dominant aspect I've encountered personally with my entrepreneurial journey is stress. Hands down, starting and kicking off a social utopia well over 6.5 years ago at this point. The sheer intensity of stress it imposes on a person or individual that it's in that position is profound. Speak to anybody that is in the industry or in the business, running a business, being an entrepreneur. They will 9 out of 10 times, I believe, tell you that stress is the number one major factor. Everyone, including myself, reacts differently to stress. How it impacts them, how it affects them. The way it affects you may not affect me the same way. But I think we can all concur that stress is detrimental at any level. It really is. It has an effect on our health and well-being. Stress gnaws at you. It deteriorates your well-being regardless of the situation, whether it's small or large. It really deteriorates how we think, how we act sometimes. How do you combat stress? How do I combat stress? How does anybody combat stress? Would you combat stress as a disease or something that just persistently haunts you? How would you guys dictate that? I perceive stress as an adversary. It's so significant to you, to the person, that it engulfs you day and night. Day and night. And things won't shift for that person until that thing is altered or changed. Whatever that thing that's causing you stress is resolved. How do you alleviate stress? How do we alleviate stress? I'm unsure if one can ever truly eliminate stress in general, like totally gone. Unless, and here's a throwback for all you guys watching or listening, and I might age myself here. Unless you're like a character named Peter Gibbons in the classic 90s movie Office Space. So if you remember that movie, remember when Peter visits a therapist, right? He visits the therapist and he talks about his day, how terrible it is, day in, day out. It's kind of like Groundhog Day. It's the same thing that always occurs for him. He asks the therapist, I just want you to make me the most laid back person ever. Like, chill. The therapist is able to accomplish that and makes Peter Gibbons' character just the most laid back, chill. If that's you, hats off to you. I know some people personally that are just like the chillest, they have that chill factor. It's very few and far between, but I do know some people personally that are like that. Kudos. That's what I say. I personally wish I could just be like zen, but that's just not me. That's not my personality. And I'm going to talk about what I do to relieve stress and how I go about it and how I used to be really terrible at dealing with stress. And sometimes I'll admit I still am, but I'm getting better. But it doesn't mean you can't change or face stress or that issue directly and cope with your stress. And that's my point here. Addressing the problem of that unresolved stress, which is causing you the underlying issue. Facing it head on. That really is the only effective way to reduce the overwhelming stress factor. The strain of running a business doesn't just impact the entrepreneur, right? The effects are rippled and felt throughout that person's personal relationships for their spouses, partners, romance, and partnership often bear the brunt of this stress overall. Business concerns can really overwhelm personal relationships when it comes to intimacy, just overall overwhelming. Children also may feel the effects when their entrepreneurial parents miss out on important milestones, right? Or even the mundane tasks of everyday life, right? Due to work commitments. This doesn't even happen to apply to entrepreneurs. This can apply to, high-level executives, working parents that have that 9-to-5 job. Or maybe it's even more of a 9-to-5 job because you have a commitment to your employer, to that business at your job. You're a high-level person making a shit ton of money. And I got to tell you, those employers expect you to be working like it's your business. Although it's not your business and you're not going to care as much as the person that runs the business at the end of the day. Beyond the immediate family, guys, friendships and relationships also suffer too. They can suffer by like business owners, entrepreneurs neglecting, these connections in the face of running and operating the day-to-day aspects of the business, the pressure that comes along with it. In this segment, we're just like looking to take like a deeper dive of stress overall and how it's like impacting not just like the person that runs the business or the operator, the entrepreneur, but the persons and people that are surrounding them, right? So spouses, children, mother, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, friends, and so forth, right? Let's kind of shift our approach here and shift, the topic and the direction, of this episode to, from problems to solutions, right? So, talking about like different coping mechanisms to relieve stress. One really key, crucial element I feel like that you can help coping with stress, maybe time management. Time management techniques are often really a first line of defense in helping business owners, entrepreneurs prioritize tasks, right? Tasks and make them more efficient throughout their day, right? But being an effective entrepreneur just isn't about doing more. It's about really knowing, so if you're a team member of one, you're not really able to delegate things. But if you have a team, you're able to delegate and have people work on items XYZ and maintain a focus of strategic decision making. But at the same time, whether you're a business operator of one, or you have W-2 employees, or you have contractors, there are ways to delegate. And at the same time, there are ways to like focus on one thing, right? Like that book that was written by one of the co-authors, Gary Keller, who I believe is affiliated with Keller Williams. And the title of the book is called The One Thing. I have read many books in, my entrepreneur lifetime, I would say. And I was gifted with this book and recommended by this book by a close friend who runs, a multi-million-dollar business. And they're like, yo, dude, you got to read this book. I was kind of like in a funk. And I was just, getting more into reading, etc. That one thing. And it's something that we all, just as business leaders, as small business owners, just anybody in business, it's like, you need to focus on one detailed item at a time, because there is no such fucking thing as multitasking. Multitasking gets you nothing done. It gets shit done. If you have multiple tabs open, if you have notifications open on your phone, your phone's ringing, things are not getting completed on a daily time. And that's going to cause and inflict more pain and more stress in your life. So like time management, and that's like kind of where I'm going with here in a roundabout way. That one thing, one of the main things that this book and that author really stresses about, and there's many other books that have been written as well, but kind of just differently, antiquated, and their approach was similar, but it was just prefaced differently, right? So focusing on the one thing, as a business owner, that task that's at hand that's maybe been eating you away. Maybe you have reports that need to get done. Like those are the things that you need to be like focusing on that day. There's like, different levels of importance, right? Level A, level B, level C, level D, level E, right? So you need to focus on the one things that's the highest on the ladder for you. And if you're able to, I think, take that approach, which has helped me in, aspects of my business, and just get better at managing and time management. When you do make a smaller list of things to do, and I'm sure some people listening or watching hate that terminology, right? To-do list, tasks, as mundane and unbearable as they sound, if you just map out, whether you set up your week ahead of time, or on a day-to-day basis, and list out a few items that that are going to set you up for success, the things that matter most. And that's what we're talking about, time management of the things that matter most, that are going to help you work better, be more productive, and at the end of the day, be less stressed out, because you completed the things that were most important for you for the business. Beyond like practical strategies like time management, let's also recognize the importance of mindfulness and wellness. I feel like those methods maybe not necessarily overlooked in the hustle and bustle of business operations, but they really do play a crucial role in maintaining mental health and physical health and resilience overall. So by prioritizing well-being, right, alongside business goals, which they go hand in hand, people, entrepreneurs can better navigate the pressure of their journey while persevering both their personal relationships and their passion, which is for work. Going into that wellness and mindfulness, this is a show fit for business, right? That's the title of the show. We talk a lot about marketing. We talk a lot about just business overall. And then, of course, fitness, as it says in the title of this show, which leads me into my next thing, finding time for you. Yes, you watching or listening to this episode. Again, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a small business owner, however you classify yourself, if you're a working parent, if you are an executive, high-level executive, it's hard to put that into finding time for me. How do I go about finding time for me? If you're single and not married, this is not going to apply to you. I'm sorry, not to ruffle feathers. However, on the flip side, if you're dating, if you're married and have kids, if you're married and have multiple kids, if you're married and have multiple kids, you have a house and you have pets, the list goes on and on. And if you're a stay-at-home mom, if you're not a stay-at-home mom, if you're a stay-at-home dad, if you're both working parents, all these things are running through the day-to-day minutia, as we call it. There's a lot going on in a day, especially for those working parents and the working parents that have kids and the stay-at-home parents, right? Because staying at home with your kids, if you're a parent and you're listening or watching, that you are running around full force, full-fledged all day. And by the end of the day, you're burnt out. But that brings me back to finding time for you. As crazy as it sounds, it's also personal between all of the chaos. Finding time for you. You have to find time for you through the smoke and mirrors and through the chaos. And finding time for you is not only to exercise your brain, but your body. Physical exercise is hyper important, right? Whether that means you're focusing on somehow getting those 10,000 steps in a day, you're spending time to do yoga, you're running, you're weightlifting, you're Olympic lifting, you're powerlifting, whatever type of physical training you are doing, you should be doing this at no level other than like 45 minutes a day, at least 4 to 5 days minimal, 4 to 5 days per week minimum. Not only will you start to feel better and look better, but being active, as we all know, will provide you with more energy, more motivation, and quite even possibly more clarity. Not to mention, if you are being physically fit and you are in shape and you are burning off that quote unquote stress, the stress is somewhat relieving now, right, guys? Because you are taking the time to not necessarily push your problems aside or the things that stressed you out for the day. We just all need to do a better job, myself included. When the day ends, right? And you have to be there, present in the moment. So when you guys are working out, it's about, let me take this, put it on airplane mode, put it on silent mode, shut it off. As I'm recording this podcast right now, the phone is off, power down. I don't want any disruptions. I want to be able to focus on you, my audience, listening here to episode number 6. Achieving a sustainable balance between work and personal life. It really is a delicate equilibrium. It's really one of often the greatest challenges for entrepreneurs, business owners, so forth. But by defining clear lines between work time and personal time, entrepreneurs can really create a protective buffer, right? A creative buffer around their non-work life. Equally as important, guys, is prioritizing these relationships, consciously allocating time and energy to nurture these connections with family, friends, loved ones, even when business demands are high. A key part of this is to embrace the idea of quality time. It's not about continuing hours spent together, right? But making sure that the time you are spending with these loved ones is really more meaningful and it's engaged. Being there in the moment, being present, and not spacing out, not thinking about work, not being on your laptop, not being on your smartphone, not being on any type of device. And I feel like by adapting these strategies as entrepreneurs can hopefully, potentially move towards a more balanced lifestyle. One that respects both business, our goals, and our personal well-being. So, as always, guys, thank you for lending me your ears and your attention. This has been Fit for Business with Jared Lane.